In this video, I'm showing you what I'm doing with leftover paint on the palette, and I'm also painting on a canvas with broad edges for the first time, and also using texture paste for the first time, and my thoughts about that. My name is Lullan and I'm an artist living in Sweden. This painting turned out to be a struggle, but a wonderful struggle because I learned so much. Already here I can say that I should have drawn my motif on the canvas, so I would have known where I would like to have the bushes and where the birds would have been, because as you can see this will end up to be a bit of a problem later on. You can find the Laponian Gate outside Abisko National Park in Lapland in the north of Sweden, and the north of Sweden is very dear to me. That's where my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side lived, and we used to stay there on holidays, and it was absolutely magical. We woke up to reindeers in the garden, and sometimes we could hear wolves cry in the distance, and in winter time we saw the most amazing northern lights in the sky. Here I'm starting to use the leftover paint on a board, and it's nothing special, it's just the backside of an old watercolor pad, so nothing fancy at all. Titanium white is the only paint I have in a big tube like this, because I always think you run out of white, but I also have white in a small tube just in case I want to bring it with me and paint, and so I don't have to carry that big thing with me. At this stage I was rather pleased with the painting. I like the colors together, but after this it just goes downhill and becomes a struggle before it gets better again. I didn't film when I painted the green because I was really frustrated with the lines from the original texture paste, and that was lack of planning. If I would have planned where the bushes were, it wouldn't have been such a problem, but I did mix texture paste with the greens, made the color a bit matte but lovely to paint with. And as you can see here on the bird, some really pesky lines that I'm covering up here with pure texture paste. I love books, both old and new, but especially old books about birds and plants, and I think it's so peaceful for the eye to look something up in a book rather than online. In wintertime the snow grouse turns almost totally white, but I think they are the prettiest in spring plumage when they are mostly white with brown dots. In the wintertime, the reindeers eat something called reindeer moss that they find under the snow. That's not the moss I have here, but it had to do for inspiration. I draw in details with a dry pastel crayon because it's so easy to wipe off. These are the symbols of the Sami people, and they live in the region called Sapmi, which is Sweden, Norway, Finland and Russia. I don't know if it's a line from the texture paste or a bristle from the brush, but I managed to cover it up with plenty of layers of texture paste and plenty of layers of yellow paint as well. When I started to paint the flower, I realized that the background was far too busy and I had to make it more calm and pleasing to the eye. And that's why I love acrylic as well. And I guess oil painting is the same, that you can paint over. Actually, I think it's rather fun to paint over. And the growling in the background was my Yorkshire Terrier Rosie, that she thought she heard an intruder, but as usual it was only in her imagination. I like to paint the eyes bigger than they are so they can look back at us angry for what we're doing to the environment. And the snow grows here, she almost looks a little bit sad, as if she has a tear in her eye. This is a typical traditional Sami woven belt, and I'm going to use that as inspiration to the edges of the canvas. In the end, I was very pleased how this painting turned out, even though the texture paste gave me an awful lot of trouble, and I enjoyed decorating the edges on the canvas, but I'm not sure I want to buy those canvases again. I have to think about it. And when it comes to the texture paste, it was not my thing at all, but I have a few ideas I want to try before I discard it altogether. And I was so pleased to start this new painting with this soft surface. And when it comes to the leftover paint project, one can keep it as an abstract if one like. I'm gonna keep mine as a background for another painting. I hope you enjoyed this video and I see you in the next one. Lots of love.